think we're still the number one club for the least amount of membership cancellations, and the members in many ways will never know how important that was for the club, because if we had $1 million worth of cancellations, we're in real trouble.
Episode 10 of The Talking Points, and we've got the CEO Gary Pert with us to give a bit of an update on all things off the footy field. Welcome, Perty.
Thanks, Ben.
It's been a challenging year, no doubt, for the club, and a financial hit is obviously going to happen with this COVID situation. How is the club tracking at the moment?
Well, I think everyone's got their head around now the fact that the AFL is being hugely impacted by the pandemic, and every club will be the same. So we're no different. It's been a hugely tough year. We've tried to be as transparent as possible with our supporters, and in many ways you don't know the financial impact until you see how the season rolls out, and it certainly had some major changes along that way. We started off thinking it might be a financial impact over $8 million. Because when the pandemic was announced, all of a sudden we weren't going to have crowds at games. Membership stopped because people were saying, all right, well, I'm not going to be able to go to the game. So all your revenue streams started to stop. We were thinking that a lot of our sponsors would be in difficult circumstances themselves in their own industries, and we might have some of our sponsors cancel out as well. But it's been an amazing rallying of the club during the year. I've been so proud of how the club's dealt with it, but all our stakeholders and all our members and supporters have been so critically important. From a membership point of view, where we were budgeting maybe to have a lot of membership cancellations, I think we're still the number one club for the least amount of membership cancellations, and the members in many ways will never know how important that was for the club, because if we had $1 million worth of cancellations, we're in real trouble. At the same time, from a cash flow point of view, because we weren't getting the revenues coming in, we launched a fundraising and donation campaign as well, and we set a target of $1 million. And again, the supporters, our stakeholders, our corporate clients have been amazing the whole year, and that $1 million target, I'd like to think by the time we get to Christmas, we'll be pretty well around that mark. So sponsors have stayed in, and many of them are in the process of re-signing for next year, our major sponsors. Our members have stuck strong with the club and have just been so supportive, and kept financially supporting and supporting the team. We've had to renegotiate the majority of our contracts with the state government, with the MCC, with the AFL. They've been critically important, and make sure that the Alice Springs game went ahead. That's worth $700,000 or $800,000 to us every year. So to make sure, working with the Northern Territory government and AFLNT, these are all been key contributors to the point that it'll be a much smaller impact. And $3 million is still a lot of money. It'll take us 2 or 3 years to recover from. But I think in a lot of ways, the entire club has helped minimise that.
On the back of all that work, we're going to be an unassisted club, which is a really good result. For the fans at home watching, what are the benefits of that?
Yeah, and the fans and members should sit back and really give themselves a pat on the back. And I've made it very clear to everyone at the club, including the players, how important the fans have been to put us in a position where we won't be requiring a loan from the AFL and the banks. Why that's really important, and we wanted to do everything possible for that not to be the case, because if we take a loan from the AFL and the banks, there'll be obligations, there'll be commitments that we'll have to agree to as part of taking that money. That no doubt would compromise our ability for the board and myself as CEO and the football program to make the decisions we want to make about what's in the best interests of our football program, and that would apply until you pay that money back. So it was really important we were unassisted, and in so many different ways. That's because of the support of the members, and the supporters have given us the cash flow that's allowed to get us to that point. And I said before, we'll make a loss of $3 million. and we'll still be unassisted. We won't be taking on any extra debt to actually get through this pandemic, assuming we don't have another disaster next year. And that's all come about because, several years ago, the board decided to sell the Lee Oak gaming operation, take that money and put it into an investment portfolio. They certainly weren't anticipating something like a pandemic, but they actually wanted to have the flexibility to have that money invested to either use to pay down debt, which part of it has been, to put into our home base facility when that happens over the next couple of years. But what it's allowed us to do, that balance sheet, the balance sheet has allowed us to ride through this pandemic in a way that a lot of other clubs won't be able to do. So it was a very good decision by the board several years ago, and it's helped us right at the moment.
On the back of all that, how has this affected the facility, and how are we progressing with that? Because obviously it's something that we're wanting to have as a club where the whole footy department can be with the staff. So are we still on track with that despite COVID?
We're still on track. It probably slowed it down a little bit because at the start of the year, the state government obviously had their hands full. And to be quite honest, we were in survival mode as an industry and as a club. But we're already back engaged now with the state government. We have a working party with them. We've had our second allocation of funding from the government to continue that working party progressing through. I'm really happy where it's at, quietly excited about where we're at, but really I can't wait for the time until I can go through it with a little bit more detail with the supporters and members about what things potentially look like in the future. But still too early. We're working through all the AFL, the state government, all the critical stakeholders in the mix, but it's well and truly on track.
In terms of our current setup, we're obviously up here in Maroochydore, enjoying hub life. We're 2 months in. How are you finding it? Obviously much nicer off the back of a win, but are you adapting to everything up here?
The hub life is really interesting. It's because what we've got like 120 people from the club living every minute together every day, and we're having breakfast, lunch and dinner, and quite often we're having team meetings with the players and their families, and kids are in the room. We've really set ourselves to say we're a group, we're away. There'll be times when the players have to go interstate and the coaches and go off and hopefully win games and then come back to the families within the hub. And everyone has been amazing in the way they've dealt with it. But, you raise that point of when you have a win, yes, it's fantastic. And I've been part of that when you have great wins, whether it's against Hawthorn or against Collingwood, St Kilda, and then you come back to the hub and you've got family and the kids and the whole club here to really enjoy that together. At the same time, it's pretty tough when you're not winning because you in a lot of ways you can't escape football. We're sort of in such close quarters here, so it's a challenging time for all clubs. It's certainly something that our wildest dreams we could never have thought up. But we're here for performance. We set ourselves from the time we rolled up here to say we're here for one purpose, to perform, to win games, to take steps closer to making the finals. And we make no apologies for the fact that our expectations, and we've said this to the supporters at the start of the year, and our expectation still is to be back in the finals and being a threat in those finals. So we've still got a lot of work to do. But I think the fact that the program has got to a point where with the remaining games, if we do our part, we're not having to sit back and rely on other teams to help us out or get us over the line. If we keep on winning games and we play our best style of football, we can put ourselves in the finals. And like I said, if we've got momentum there and we've got a fit list, which we seem to have, our list compared to a lot of the clubs is healthy. Yes, tired because of the short 4 or 5 day turnaround, but we've got the majority of the list available every game. That's really important in that lead into the final. So that's our expectation and still is.
it's a year where fans can't be as involved as usual. You're in the meetings, you're in a sanctum, seeing everything behind the scenes. Can you give them some confidence that the whole footy department is on the right track?
Oh yeah, because sometimes we can focus on one element, and supporters do it, the media do it. It's very easy to focus on a particular coaching move or a particular player, whether they're performing well or not. But what's going to get us into the finals is the program. So the program is about us bringing the right players into the list this year. And we've brought players in that have already contributed. I think, we've seen Rivers, we've seen Cozzy Pickett, we've seen Luke Jackson all come in and make a contribution straight away. And we're pretty excited about their potential. But Tomlinson and Langdon playing on the wings, again, have been really important inclusions, and Brownie on the weekend. So we've brought new players into the group. And what that does is it bolsters us, but you also see that we've had to play around with the lineup. What is our ideal lineup? And in some ways, teams that are, let's say, call it more mature in their life cycle would have that a bit more set. We're still trialling, and we're still trying to test to go, what is the best combination? And so the talent on our list is part of that program. Then to get that list fit and available to be picked each week, and I think Darren Burgess has done magnificent work in the pre-season, and he continues to do that in the hub and keep the list healthy and available. And then it comes down to the game day. And so much of what we've seen, and I don't have to tell the supporters about this, we've all done it. It's been a roller coaster year, and we've seen some of the best football played by the team in recent times, and we've seen some pretty poor quarters and some a couple of games which were hard to watch for everyone. And that variation, again, is something, if we're going to be making the finals and be a real threat in the finals, it's about the best teams aren't necessarily playing a higher standard than what we've put out as our best. What we need to be doing is we need to be playing for 4 quarters. And we've seen that in games this year. Like I said, is when you watch the Hawthorn game, when you watch the Collingwood game, we see their 4-quarter efforts, that's what it's got to look like. And when we start to mature, we start to settle down the list, but also we start to execute the plan over the entire 4 quarters, and we do it every week, that's when we're going to be at our best. We've seen some games this season that have been really costly for us because we might be sticking to the game plan, and for 10 minutes or 15 minutes or for 1 quarter, we drop off that game plan. And against the good teams, that's enough for them to score against you, and it can cost you the result in the end. And we've seen that. And like I said, that's the work we're doing as we lead into the finals, is about really getting that entrenched, so we're playing at our best for the 4 quarters, and we can roll up. And every week, even if we drop off in a particular week, it's a very small drop off. The best teams that are in the top 4, they're there for a reason, because their lower performances are not that far off their best performances, and that's the path that we're on.
Well, hopefully we can keep the momentum going this Thursday. Purdy, thanks for your time on Talking Points.
Great. Thanks, Ben.